Today's video is sponsored by Anker. Oh, this is gonna be such a painful video to make. Hi everyone and welcome to Pal to Tech. I wanted to have a little fun today and list out 4 of my favorite Fujifilm lenses. Now keep in mind that everyone has a different opinion and a perspective on what lenses they think are great. For myself, if these were the only Fuji lenses that I could ever use, that would be just fine. Oh, by the way, if I ever kick the bucket, please, somebody out there, please make sure that I am buried with the lenses that I'm about to show you today. A few things about my list. First, these are all Fuji brand lenses. Now there are great third-party lenses out there, but that's a separate video, and I wanted to stick to Fuji for today. Secondly, I based my choices not just on image quality, but on cost, build quality, versatility, convenience, autofocus speed, and so forth. Lastly, I don't own every single Fujifilm lens out there. I wish I did, so keep that in mind. In particular, I do not own the 80mm macro, the 50mm f1.0, and the 35mm f1.4, although I do have the f2 and the 35mm. So because of this, don't assume that I've tested every single Fujifilm lens out there in some Fuji lens laboratory where lens scientists are working around the clock. Decades of research and bokeh analysis. But I do happen to own a lot of Fuji lenses, and I've tested many more, and here are my favorites. First up, I'd like to talk about a lens that does not get as much attention as it should, and that's really starting to piss me off, and that is the 90mm f2. This lens is by far the fastest autofocus Fuji lens that I've ever used, and because of this, it's great for any kind of fast action photography, not to mention beautiful portraiture, and it's fairly compact, weighing in at about 540 grams. Now, it's one of the few Fujifilm lenses that features a quad linear motor, and that's what makes this lens have such fast autofocus. You get very sharp images even at maximum aperture, and the background isolation, as well as how sharp it is in all areas of the frame, make the 90mm f2.0 Fuji's most underappreciated lens. It's time to start giving the 90mm some love. Next is the 50-140. Oh man, this thing is so big, right? But the image quality that you get out of this lens makes everything worth it. It features a triple linear motor, so its autofocus is not as fast as the 90mm, but it's still impressive, and it is faster than a lot of other Fujifilm lenses. And with 5 stops of image stabilization built right in, you can shoot handheld all the way down to 1/8 of a second, or even 1/4 of a second, depending upon your camera and how courageous you are. Now, it's a big lens and not the most travel-friendly compact lens, that's for sure, but the image quality you get with it is worth it. Combined with the lovely background isolation makes that extra weight well worth it. I've owned this lens longer than just about any other Fuji lens, and I love it today more than ever. Speaking of heavy, let's talk about my number 2 favorite Fujifilm lens, the 16-55 zoom. Hold on. I need a moment of silence from you and everyone else to appreciate just how amazing this zoom lens is. This lens is what you would get if you cram together a 16mm prime, a 23, a 35, and a 56mm prime all together, cram them together into one lens. That's the 16-55mm Fujifilm lens. No joke, it's like having the versatility and the image quality of 4 Fujifilm prime lenses in one. And as I said, it's heavy. This weighs 685 grams or 1.4 pounds. It uses linear motor autofocus, which is about average autofocus for a Fujifilm lens. It's beautifully sharp all the way through the focal ranges, and the image quality, colors, and background rendition are so good for a zoom lens that, for me, every time I go out shooting with this lens, the entire side of my arm is so sore because I'm having to pinch myself constantly to believe that I'm not dreaming. It's that good, but it's heavy and it's expensive. So, let's now go to my number one pick, which is none other than the 18-55 zoom. That's right, I said it. Back in the old days, before we all became enlightened, we used to call this lens a kit lens. Now, if that's true, then this is the single greatest kit lens ever made for any camera on planet Earth. This is a do-everything lens. You throw this on your camera and you can just get it done. Now, is the image quality on the 18-55 as good as what you would get on a 90mm prime or the 16-55? No. Of course it isn't, right? But the image quality on this lens is excellent. And when you factor in the price, the size, the portability, and the fact that this is Fujifilm's single best video lens with regard to image stabilization and autofocus, then what you get for the price of this lens is quite a bargain. And that is the reason why it is my number one pick for all of Fuji. Now, there were some honorable mentions that didn't make it into my top 4. Most notably the 16mm prime. A lot has been said about this lens, and many photographers consider it to be Fujifilm's all-time greatest lens. It's absolutely tack sharp all the way through the aperture range, and the background bokeh is among the best that Fuji has to offer. It's as close as you can get to the perfect prime lens for landscape and architecture, and it has a manual focus clutch, which is a rarity for Fuji lenses. And lastly, you can shoot much closer up with this lens than you might imagine. Check this out. Look at how close I can get. Look at that. Right to about there. You see that? Now, the only reason this lens did not make my list was because of the incredible versatility and image quality that I could get at 16mm with this zoom lens as well. As I said in the beginning of the video, I always consider cost a part of how I evaluate a lens. The 16mm prime is $1,000. The 16-55mm zoom is $200 more at $1,200. So for the extra $200, the amount of focal range versatility you would get with the zoom makes it the better pick between these two, at least for me. Needless to say, I love both of these, and I'll say it again, the 16mm prime doesn't just create works of art, it is a work of art. Okay, the hell with it. I'm gonna change the list right now. The 16mm prime is now going to be on the list at number 5. Now, before I send you off on an awesome weekend, I'd like to give a special thank you to today's video sponsor, Anker. They've just released a brand new 11-in-1 USB-C hub. Now, while this hub will work for both PCs and Macs, they are really helpful if you are using a Mac or an iPad. It is easier to find the lost ARC than it is to find a useful and helpful port on an Apple product. The 11-in-1 USB-C hub is small, and it comes with a little travel carrying case. There are, take a guess, 11 ports built right into this little device. You plug one end into the USB-C port on your computer. One side gives you 2 USB-A ports, which are great for mice and keyboards, as well as a USB-A and a USB-C port that support transfer speeds of up to 5 gigabits per second. So I can connect one of these external SSD drives, such as the Samsung T5 or the T7, right to the hub and get a blazing fast external drive to edit my photos or my videos. On the other side, you have both an HDMI port and a display port that can allow you to connect up to 2 high-definition monitors or a single 4K 60Hz monitor. So you can connect something like this to your laptop. Yeah, right. Also really convenient, it has both an SD card and a micro SD card reader built right into it. I've used a lot of micro SD card readers in the past, and most of them suck because once you shove the micro SD card into the reader, then you need tiny little fingers like Bilbo Baggins to get the thing out, right? Well, with this hub, you can simply press in and then the card will come out like that and you can just take it right out. It is so much easier. On top of the unit, you have both an Ethernet port and a standard headphone port. And lastly, you have one final port right here called PD. That stands for power delivery. You can connect up to a 100-watt charger. And if you do, you're not only getting all of these ports on your Mac, but you are also charging everything as well at the same time, which would then free up the other port as well on your Mac. Very, very handy. I will have a link to Anker's website in the description below so that you can check out all their products, including this new 11-in-1 USB-C hub. And as always, a big thank you to Anker for sponsoring this video and helping to support the channel. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, be sure to give it the like and subscribe. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to be signing off now, but I will see all of you in another video next week. Take care.